I'm 13 doing another recording for Squirrel Dealer, and tonight we're going to be playing Black Green Whip Leap. So this deck is kind of a recreation from Theros Khan Standard. I know that one of the more brewy decks running around was the DC Whip. I actually had come up with that for my friend group before. I believe Saffron Olive was the one that originally did the video, but whatever. We are going to be utilizing Whip of Erebos to bring in creatures and then hopefully sacrifice them to Evolutionary Leap. I do want to take one moment to pause on this though. This deck is actually very expensive for Pioneer because we run a lot of really good cards. And I actually don't believe we're going to do that well. We're going to come out slower than some of the aggressive decks in the format. We're not going to grind as hard as like the mono black deck. We're going to get shut down pretty hard by a couple other strategies. Regular viewers might know that I occasionally get migraines, and tonight my brain is bleeding. It's pretty bad, so I'm trying to run a deck that's a little less prone to do well because I'm sure I'm going to make some mistakes myself, and honestly, this might be one that you can skip if you're a fan of content. Like, there's a lot of good stuff out there, and this one might not do overly hot, but I know this is also a fan favorite, so I definitely wanted to give it a showing. Moving on, though. So, this deck, we are not looking at the highlights correctly. First and foremost, Whip of Erebos. Creatures you control have lifelink. Then you may pay 4 to return target creature from the graveyard to the battlefield. It gains haste. Exile it until the next end step. And then if it were going to go anywhere else, exile it instead. There are some really fun things you can do, like with Meandering Tower Shell in this card, but it's kind of hard. Like, I could see Whip of Erebos and Eldrazi displays are doing fairly well, but that's beyond the point. It's going to be 4 mana, buy back any creature from our yard, and then Evolutionary Leap. We can pay green to sack a creature and reveal cards from the top of our library until we reveal a creature. Put that card into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your deck. So hopefully we're going to have 5 mana up. We'll whip in a creature from our graveyard. We'll sack it, draw a card, and then we have plenty of cards that fuel our graveyard, like Stitcher's Supplier here. Just black 1 mana. By the time that enters and dies, it's going to mill for 6, fueling our strategy. Then we also are rocking Satyr Wayfinder, another card from the Theros block that when it enters, reveal the top 4, mill them, and you can put a land card from among them into your hand. Again, just another way to put cards in the yard. We are rocking 3 copies of Grimflayer. It's a just decent beater that also stacks our graveyard, like just makes sense, gets better with Delirium. Then our big finisher here is going to be Lotless Giant. Normally costs 7 mana, and when it enters, it deals 1 damage to the opponent for each creature card in your graveyard. So we'll whip this into play, shoot our opponent for decent amount, and then hit them for 6, sack it, hopefully draw cards, and that's going to be our primary strategy. Beyond that, this is one of the few decks in the format that can utilize Deathrite Shaman. We can exile a land to ramp, we can exile an instant or sorcery to drain, get a little bit more reach, we can gain some life, hate out what our opponent's doing. Zani is going to be the fun of the deck that I want to actually play today. It's Undergrowth, put a insect into play for each card, and then every game we're going to be boarding an Assassin's Trophy for Graveyard Hate, and that is Whip Leap. Alright, and we got into our first match. Hopefully we'll have a little fun here. This is a Stitcher Supplier, Satyr Wayfinder. Deathrite Shaman's going to be a little slow. I actually am probably going to be playing Deathrite Shaman into the Stitcher Supplier. The Satyr Wayfinder can come out on 3, and then this means I can start activating Deathrite with everything that I fielded from the Stitcher Supplier. But Castle Locklane will help us refuel. This is seriously one of my favorite cards in Pioneer at the moment. And opponent is on the play currently at 5 cards. They could potentially be the Dredge deck. If they are, Deathrite Shaman should really get some love. But, alright, they keep 5. Overgrown Tomb tapped. That could be Hardened Skelts. Either way, I'm going to make the assumption because they mulligan so hard that they are Dredge, and I do like Deathrite Shaman. As long as I can cast him, I actually want to do something fun with him, so we'll just lead with that. Alright, they left mana up. I don't exactly know what that means for me. So at the moment, I don't want to run out Evolutionary Leap because I could be expecting an Assassin's Trophy, and I don't really care about the ramp. I think I'm going to go for the Satyr Wayfinder because I don't think I'm going to be activating Stitcher Supplier now. It is possible that I could start eating my yard and doing things, but that doesn't really feel great at the moment. Then this can be a turn 3 tap land that can scry us into something, hopefully scry us into a good Stitcher Supplier mill, or just an untapped land on 4. Yeah, I'm fine sending that to the bin and potentially just having the ramp here. Actually, no, I want to potentially whip next turn. I don't have anything great, and with Deathrite Shaman not activating, that means he needs to attack. Okay, fast lands, check lands, a lot of Golgari. Should have put out the Stitcher Supplier. That's a results base. I'm not a huge fan of that, but that is probably what should have happened. Let's go ahead and take our scry here. Murderous Rider. So if they are the Soul type food deck and they just don't have blue, I definitely want the Swift End. They could just have any number of Roskas, Grimflayers. This could actually be a Abzan deck missing the white, so I could be expecting Siege Rhinos. I'm okay milling this, so I think I'm just going to continue on the mill plan here. Let's go ahead and just Stitcher Supplier, bin them. Ooh, we found a Chupacabra, another Stitcher Supplier, and then the Murderous Rider we knew about. And then we have our 4th mana. I'm just going to get out Evolutionary Leap here. If they end up cracking the Assassin's Trophy on it, we kind of fall behind a little bit, but I kind of just want to be as mana efficient as possible here, and odds are I'll be sacking the Stitcher Supplier. That's an interesting one. Oh, and we just drew the Ravenous Chupacabra? That's great. I do not have another land in the bin, so maybe it was a mistake eating it last turn, but whatever. I'm just going to Chups, kill their Kalitas, and then just chip in for little creature beats. The fact that they're mainboarding this is kind of a problem for us. I mean, we already took care of it. Yeah. Alright, well, I think that was more of a opponent mulligan, so we were able to just beat down. Again, Assassin's Trophy always needs to come in for the sideboard hate. I didn't see enough out of opponents to make me want Thoughtseize. Having Kalitas means that they're probably an aggressive deck. I don't necessarily think I need one of my own. Tireless Trackers could be here if they are actually playing something Jundy, where they're trying to do 2-for-1s, but at the moment, kind of don't care. Skoos could be alright. Noxious Grasp can hit green or white. They are a green deck. I think at the moment, though, I'm only afraid of Big Garrick or Nissa. I don't think that's enough for Noxious Grasp, just from what I've seen. Opponent hasn't really shown us anything that I particularly care about, so I'm going to try to keep our game plan pretty strong. Hornet Queen's a little expensive, and honestly, if they are going to be hating on our graveyard, it might be a little hard to pull something off. Massacre Girl can actually clear a giant board if they are like the... I wouldn't expect them to be the Field of the Dead deck, but they are going to get a number of zombies off of Kalitas. They could actually just be some zombie build. Not sure. I can trim a Murderous Rider. Didn't see many creatures from them. I don't know what they had in hand, but the mulligan was rough. Then maybe just a Chupacabra? No, I want a firm castable answer for a Kalitas if they do happen to get one early. What I'm supposed to do is I'm supposed to trim some of our graveyard. Maybe this is more correct. I like this a little bit more. Don't go all in on the graveyard because they should be bringing in things like Leyline of the Void or Grafdigger's Cage. Seeing as how we only have 3 firm answers, that's probably worth it. Do I actually want the Rex Sage? This was supposed to be in here for like Hardened Scale style, but it can also hit a... Yeah, let's do this. I'm expecting them to be on Leyline of the Void, and Rex Sage can hit it on 3, and then we can start comboing off. Ugh, 1-tapped Black Source, that's not going to happen. Okay, so we're going to tuck the probably Hornet Queen. It's just so much harder to cast. We're likely not casting anything here. I do want the Redundant Whip, because the Redundant Whip will be fine if they answer one. And we don't need 2 threats in hand. I really don't want to go to 5. Yeah, Hornet Queen's just harder to cast, and I'd honestly just rather see this in my hand. Hard cast if they do start hating our graveyard. Alright, well, they've shown us all 4 green-black dual lands. Still not 100% sure what they're on, but seeing as how they didn't lead on Leyline, let's go ahead and just Stitchers. Having a little graveyard fuel is fine. They added card types! I'm so proud of you, Moto. You're improving. Alright, well, Fabled Passage is a tap land. Not the best. If we find another land next turn, this will come in untapped. Alright. Well, opponent's not doing anything at the moment. I do need more black in my deck than green, so just going to go ahead and get that. We have a lot of double blacks. Assassin's Trophy is pretty fun. That actually lets me kill something this turn without hoping to top deck a swamp. If they end up just going turn 4 Kalatos, I can blow it up. Right now, whipping back Satyr Wayfinder is the only thing I can hit, but he's pretty fine because he'll find me my next hit. Yep, I don't like you. I have bad memories of you in high school. You like to pick on people. Don't like that. I like what I'm doing. Alright, land for whip. Murderous Rider. Alright, well I think we're holding that up for a second one. Or potentially Planeswalker. It's not like we have many other options. I don't want to just run them out hard. And that's why we kept both whips. I imagine they have to take a whip here. If they're planning on slamming a 4-mana Vraska, I could see the Murderous Rider going away. You got some options. The turn 5 Thoughtseize is never really the one that you want to make, though. Really needed that last land. Yep, they took one of the whips. Do they have more discard? Do they have an Assassin's Trophy? Ooh, this is actually great for me. So Plaguecrafter is a Fleshbag Marauder. I think there's also a newer version of it, but it also hits Planeswalkers, anybody who can't discard a card. If they make me discard, I'm discarding the Lotleth Giant, but they'd have to kill both of these with the trigger on the stack. I should have attacked for one. If we lose from 1 point of damage here, that's my fault. Grasp of Darkness. Okay, so they have a lot of removal. That's all I'm getting from this. Abrupt Decay. Abrupt Decay couldn't hit Whip. This just looks like green-black control. Yep, that's a big Lily. Despite getting my 4th land here, I just have to kill Lily. She can't stick around. She's going to win the game way too quickly. Then my Murderous Rider will likely get killed, but it can at least block the zombie. And now that I have the Whip of Erebos, we can start chaining some stuff together. Oh, this is Seasons Past. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. Yeah, they don't have to reveal it. Alright, they're going to take our Whip away. They also might just want to see our deck. Oh, it's non-artifact? They can't name Whip, so maybe Leap? They've seen the Lotleth Giant. They can't imagine they call Deathrite Shaman. Yeah, this is an interesting one. What do they name? Lotleth Giant? Okay, well, we're going to get a fresh draw off of that. That only got 2. It did get 1 card out of our hand, though. They also get to take a look at our deck. I don't know, does that change anything? Knowing that their Seasons Past makes me want to bring in the Leyline of the Voids. This really doesn't matter, but I don't need a 5th land. It was going to come into play untapped anyway, so I figured I'd do some minimal thinning there. I 100% expect them to have Assassin's Trophy. They could also just spend their next turn Seasons Pasting. So my options here are cheap, just get rid of the zombie. I don't think that that's actually affecting the board state too much. I can whip, but not actually activate anything. I kind of like whip and just run out Deathrite Shaman. That feels like the best thing that I can do here, and then I can whip back the Satyr Wayfinder and hopefully find a Hornet Queen. If they do Seasons Past and Lost Legacy again, I'm assuming the Hornet Queen's going to get called. But for now, this feels like the best thing I can be doing. Yep, there's a Season's Pass. So for those of you that didn't play Standard, return any number of cards with different converted mana cost from graveyard to hand. If they run Fabled Passage, they get a land plus, like you can see, they're selecting Kalitas, the Thoughtseize, the Dark Petition, Lost Legacy. They're tapping out this turn to basically draw, I think that was 6. But then they're going to be able to untap next turn, Lost Legacy away my Hornet Queen, and then cast Kalitas more than likely, assuming they found a land. Alright, and we find a land. I can start using Deathrite Shaman to eat their yard. I currently have the Plague Crafter that'll make them sack their zombie. That doesn't seem very beneficial at the moment. Satyr Wayfinder can fuel my yard, though. That's just going to give them better information to call off of the Lost Legacy. I actually really like having this Murderous Rider in exile. We have 2 more in the deck that I need to be conscious of, but if I hit Stitcher Supplier, I don't have a leap to sack anything. Opponent knows I have a Chupacabra in hand. Alright, well, I guess it's going to put me on Satyr Wayfinder then. We hit a Grimflayer and Evolutionary Leap. Alright, and then I actually don't want them to be able to pick up another card from exile. I think Grasp hurts me more at this point. Yeah, they can kill my Deathrite Shaman, but whatever. Doing that on my turn was primarily to make sure that they didn't have anything that could buy it back or interact with my Deathrite Shaman while they were tapped out. Recast Lily, they can make me sack a creature. Oh, nope, they didn't. That's kind of interesting. Yep, now they want to protect Lily, makes sense. The additional Chupacabra, so I can actually double Chups and hit Lily. I don't think that's very good. I can Chups and bring in Plaguecrafter, but I'd like Plaguecrafter after I clear their board to be able to kill Lily, so let's see here. Is it worth actually double Chuping from hand this turn? Probably. I don't really have much else going on. But then that means Deathrite's tapped. I don't hit Lily for anything. They can minus and make me sack 2 creatures, which would be both Chups, and then I can start whipping them back into play. Yeah, that seems fine. If they just run out another zombie next turn, then I can attack and then use the Plaguecrafter. Yeah, that's nasty. They draw cards, but they have Seasons Past and Dark Petition running. It's not like any amount of card draw Lily gives them is going to actually help them get better draws. Alright, these are my cards, opponent. Let me show you what you got. And this is a prime example of what I said in the deck tech, where other decks are going to be able to go over our head well better than us. Way better than us. Words are hard. But opponent currently has 10 cards in hand and a 6-mana Planeswalker. They get a Dark Petition for, I'm assuming, actually it wouldn't be Demonic Pact. Oh, they don't have Spell Mastery because I ate their other thing. Okay. Assassin's Trophy on the Whip. That's actually kind of okay. Although I am out. Why am I out? We have a lot of land. Oh, no, that was the other deck I was brewing for tonight. Okay, that makes sense. And I can just hard cast the Hornet Queen. Alright, well, at this point... Yeah, I can't let that ult. Yep, opponent gets a draw for their non-card. That's not a battle I'm winning. Then 4/7. I can just hard cast Hornet Queen. Alright. Oh, what they probably tutored for was likely Languish. Yeah, we just scooped to a Languish. Yep. All right. Well, we figured out what they were doing, and we figured out why we stumped them so hard in game one. Now Thoughtseize is definitely coming in. Oh, we don't have Leyline of the Void. We have Scoozes. All right. Well, Scoozes are coming in, and they're primarily a black deck. The Noxious Grasp doesn't actually do anything. I do believe I want the last Murderous Rider to answer Lily, though, just because she's so hard, and we will give them time to cast it. Golos is probably too greedy. We were supposed to have one of the rainbow lands in the board, but it just didn't make it. Lotless Giant is probably going to be the first thing that they call. They also didn't see our Tireless Trackers. This is actually quite good in the matchup because us drawing a couple of cards can draw us out of whatever opponent is setting up. If they go long enough, we're not coming back, but getting a couple of clues and making it so that they can't Thoughtseize us is probably going to be kind of valuable. Then they didn't actually have Graveyard Hate. Do we want to go Explosive or do we want to go... We actually probably just want to go Explosive. Dark Petition can go get them Languish. We will have issues with Assassin's Trophy, but yeah, let's actually just go for Explosive. That means no grinding. Hornet Queen's out. Massacre Girl is definitely out. That hurts us far more than it hurts them. Choops only answers the tokens and Kalitas, and we have a couple of non-conditional removal spells. Deathrite Shaman's actually fairly good in this matchup. Scavenging Ooze is playing the same role. Evolutionary Leap is going to be our pseudo card advantage if they're not on the Season's Pass combo. Izuni's probably bad, and then that probably means maybe just trim a little bit of the top end. I do like Murderous Rider for Lily, but I think we're going to try to go too explosive so that they can't handle us. We are going to be on the play for game 3. I should have taken Rexage out. Satyr Wayfinder. I don't have anything here. I have a couple of cards I don't mind getting answered, though. Yeah, it's fine. We'll go Satyr Wayfinder and then Scooz and eat whatever removal spell they used on the Wayfinder. This is definitely the matchup, though, that I was like, we don't have enough attrition at the end. Leap is cute, but it's not quite good enough. Castle Lock Lane entering untapped here is good because Satyr Wayfinder is probably going to find us another one. Oh, look at that. It's even another Castle Lock Lane. Now, next turn, if opponent tries to remove the Satyr Wayfinder, it's going to be an untap land and just eat their removal spell so that Season's Pass loses a lot of value. If it isn't, then I'm not sure what I want to run. At this point, opponent could only have a Fatal Push, and if they're on Fatal Push, then Scooz can eat the land. Alright, well, first things first. Satyr Wayfinder, get your beats in for 1. Next turn, it's going to be Tireless Tracker, get a clue. Alright, Scooz, you're up. I don't think it's worth Rexaging here. And they had it. Sad Panda. Season's Past, I believe, only runs 2 Fatal Pushes because the fact that it's a 1-drop and you actually want to buy back Thoughtseize more than often. It's really hard for them to find an additional 1-drop that they want to buy late game, especially when it's harder to enable Revolt. Like, this package is fine, but if they don't have the Fabled Passage, it just doesn't perform that well late game. Alright, well, we're getting our clue. We're going to fuel our yard. What did we find? Grimflayer, a Leap, a Murderous Rider. If they untap and Languish, we're kind of in a bad spot. We'd have to draw into Whip really, really quickly. Hissing Quagmire, so they could potentially have it. That kind of makes it look like they don't have it, but Season's Pass can let you do some really unconventional things. Yeah, that's actually a really good draw. Let's take a look at what you're doing. Pithy Needle for the whip. Dark Petition can go get them a board clear. They have their own tireless tracker that we can kill. And the Assassin's Trophy to answer the whip. They have so much. This gains life and exiles, which unfortunately is like the best thing. The Pithy Needle I can hit with Rex Sage. The Dark Petition is actually just the best card that they have, so let's take the Dark Petition. They also did have the Field of the Dead, so I wasn't too far off with the lands I was seeing. They didn't have the board clear, though, so that means I'm running out my Stitcher Supplier. And may as well run that out tapped. Opponent, you see everything I've got. Yeah, there's their tireless tracker. Their land and Pithy Needle. Alright, so I get a double spell, hit for 3, and then we're probably out of this game. Then we can start activating Castle Locklane and start drawing cards. We drew the whip. Oh boy. Sometimes life is funny. I mean, we're fairly well set up, but now their Field of the Dead's going to start getting really close to being active. I guess the Rex Sage wasn't bad. I still don't think it was correct to bring it in, but I do think it was bad. It's also very temporary. Without exiling it from the yard, Seasons Past just buys it back, then they get a whip again. Currently have 6 lands with different names. So next turn they're getting a zombie. If it's Fabled Passage, they're getting 2. Satyr Wayfinder. Alright. I actually need to not F6, because if they Assassin's Trophy me during my main phase, or before my second main phase, then I want to be able to cast a Satyr Wayfinder. They played correctly. Alright, well. This does feel just like a horrible matchup. We are fairly close to getting through, but it still just feels so bad. Ooh, Seasons Pass for Fatal Push. They're going to get 2 zombies off the Field of the Dead. Kill my Reclamation Sage, and we'll only be attacking for 1 here. Deathrite Shaman's probably going to be one of our better draws, but they just brought back a lot of stuff. They picked up Fabled Passage, Push, Trophy, Tracker, Dark Petition, and Seasons Past. And then they'd have to discard a hand size. Alright, well, I do know that this Fabled Passage is getting them an additional creature, and they have the Fatal Push. I'm going to move to combat first. If they blow their Fatal Push here, then Deathrite Shaman should be able to finish this game. Yay! That was one of the few ways I could see actually winning this. And they still have Dark Petition, so they can find an answer for this. Now, do I want to draw and lose 2 or run out the Satyr Wayfinder and just have lethal attackers? I think Satyr Wayfinder is just more efficient at the moment. Also gets me a land. I don't think I've played land for turn yet. Hey, now we get to do both. Look at that. Waiting until end step so we can't get Thoughtseized. But now they have to answer Deathrite Shaman and find 2 blockers. They do get 1 off the Fabled Passage. And I guess they technically get 1 off the Field of Ruin. Dark Petition with Spell Mastery means they get Languish. I kind of ran into that. Cry of the Canarium. Even worse for me. Now they get their zombie. They can actually get another one too. They get a Field of Ruin me. Oh, they're just going for Tireless Tracker? I'm not as big of a fan of that line, but they are playing a better deck, so I get it. Now they have removal for the Deathrite Shaman, but still have to run it out. I believe there's a couple of things I can cast here that are like that. So it was worth running it out now. That should be a 4/4. Fantastic. We have a little bit of time still. I mean, opponent has Seasons Past loop active, so we have to make it close, but they have to start answering Deathrite Shaman every turn, which isn't impossible. Vraska's Contempt. That gained them life, so that's actually super bad. Yep, that's going to answer one of the Castle Lock lanes. Get them a couple more Zombos. There's the other one. We're going to fail to find. That means that this Fabled Passage is worthless. Yep, I think we officially are moving into garbage time. We'll take a look at our next draw. If it's something like a Swift In and an opponent misblocks, we can still steal this, but yeah, that's not going to do it. Alright, well, we got kind of close there. Opponent's deck is a little bit more on the greedy side. I have played around with Seasons Past. I know if Brad once starts recording again, that's going to be one of the first ones that he does for Pioneer. It just went bigger than us, and as I mentioned in the deck tech, we knew that was going to be a possibility when we registered this. We didn't even really see Whip at all in here. Getting something like an E-Whip would be fantastic. Den Protector, I think, was running around the format when it first came out, but you also ran Death Miss Raptor, and I don't necessarily think that that combo is strong enough for Pioneer at the moment. I'd be happily proven wrong. Like, that was a really sweet deck, but just seemed like it was a little bit on the worse end. If this Massacre Girl and Hornet Queen were lands, this hand would be fine. I'm not excited about it, but it would be fine. But yeah, that's pretty unkeepable. And this is actually pretty good. We get a Stitcher Supplier into EU, Leap, and then Plague Crafter. Hornet Queen goes away. Don't need you, Hornet Queen. I respect the effort, but don't need you. Not yet. Alright, opponent kept their 7. What is that? Hero of Oxid Ridge. Definitely looking that one up. Looks like a Dragon Tamer. For anybody curious, Human Knight with Battle Cry. I actually think I've seen this in Cube before. Interesting card. And it looks like it's probably going to be Thing in the Ice Arclight Phoenix. Given that, this Plague Crafter is going to be super bad. I think at the moment I would prefer to... Actually, all of these are tap lands. I did not realize that. Alright, this is going to be a slow, painful game. Until we get one shot by Phoenixes, but sure. Do not need another Choops. Respect the effort, but... removal versus this deck isn't very good. Quicken. This might be the new Twiddle deck. I don't know the firm list for it, but I know people on Reddit were talking about it. They are basically running the Lotus Field deck that's in Modern, the Twiddle Storm deck, but there's a new combo finish with... I'm blanking on the name, it's an enchantment. This could actually just be... Quicken is one of the few cantrips in this format, especially at instant speed. This could be Arclight Phoenix still. Chart of Course is a way to bend the Phoenixes, and these would be 2 spells that could trigger off a Thing on the Ice on turn 3. And opponent's tanking, so it's not like they're just going to bend a Phoenix and move on with the rest of their life. I think they're trying to figure out if they have to go faster or slower versus us. Trying to determine if they're the beatdown or not. I'll give you a hint. You are the beatdown. Especially with this hand. I would love a whip. Actually, I think I'd love an untapped land. Just like basic swamp. That'd make me pretty happy. And they're still tanking on Chart of Course. That likely means they had to step away. There's very few things in this format that would tank this long on turn 2, especially off Chart of Course. Lightning Axe. I don't know. They could have been thinking if they had to have creature removal versus us or not. We would Okay, that's actually kind of okay. That'll get me my swamp. Murderous Rider, Satyr Wayfinder. Well, we just told opponent what we're doing. And we know this is coming in to play tapped. I'm just going to go get my swamp so Lock Lane enters untapped. Next turn, if they have a thing in the ice up, we can Plague Crafter. Plague Crafter not getting countered by Izzet Charm is actually quite fantastic here. It can still get killed by it, but with the Stitcher Supplier, I have plenty of sack outlets. I'm likely going to draw something really expensive next turn because the only big thing we know about is the Hornet Queen on the bottom of our deck. Like, even just discarding something I'd prefer to whip in is great. By the way, 3 cheers for Murderous Rider. This is easily becoming one of my favorite cards. It's Hero's Downfall in one half and a lifelinker on the back. Super control-y. I like you, Murderous Rider. Charticore. So, potentially... Yep, they did find a Phoenix. I am assuming that that's a Lightning Axe coming my way. Urborg. Little slow to tell me what you were, Urborg. Alright, I believe I want to Evolutionary Leap here. It allows me to sack my Stitcher Supplier at their instep. And they also don't have Izzet Charm up. The odds of them having Spell Pierce is very unlikely. So now I'm kind of just in control where they can't answer my Stitcher Supplier and they don't know when it's going to become active to sack it. We don't necessarily have anything like Arclight Phoenix in our yard where we can just combo off and get a good chain kill. Another reason I didn't think that this deck would be overly powerful, but Whip Leap is still a really fun combo. So I'm happy to give it a shot. This could be a Cackling Drake, although I don't think that they run it anymore. Okay. Well, opponent's proven me wrong. It is a powerful magic card. They shouldn't really have any Planeswalkers, but I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of my Stitcher Supplier here to draw a fresh card. Let's see what we reveal. Again, reveal cards from the top until you reveal a creature. Put that card into your hand. We get Lotleth Giant. That's fine. If we draw Whip, I'm going to get really fancy here. I'm going to Plague Crafter and sack it with the trigger on the stack to discard the Lotleth Giant. We do not, which means I think that's just putting me on Mr. Choops. Turn that 2-for-1 back into a 1-for-1. They got a card, I got a creature. I can totally see them Wild Slashing my creature here. They should have Wild Slashes in their deck. They've been to Lightning Axe, which means they have a non-zero amount of removal. I can't sack it to Evolutionary Leap at the moment, so they've got to start digging for a way to get rid of this. I did not see we milled over a Whip when we sacked the Stitcher Supplier. That's a little unfortunate. But we run 4 of them. This looks like a Titty. Ooh, strategic planning. They even went with the old art. That's great. So they have one more spell to get this Arclight Phoenix back. They have to. They've been the Wild Slash. So Arclight comes in. We probably just Plague Crafter and Deathrite Shaman. Then we'll only have Lotleth Giant in hand, and that means we can start activating this Castle Lock Lane the following turn. Deathrite Shaman's actually pretty decent versus their strategy. Eating the Arclight Phoenixes, A, gets us out of the fact that they're a pseudo-burn deck, and B, just gets rid of their recursible threat, so we only have to deal with the thing in the ices when we have multiple ways to kill it with creatures. Evolutionary Leap can always find us another way to kill it. Okay, there's an Opt, there's the Arclight Phoenix. 6 cards in hand, though. That's not great for us. Another Choops. I actually think I'm just on another Choops. If I run out Deathrite Shaman here, it's going to die. Having another Choops that's a respectable enough clock that our opponent's going to have to answer it. So, Choops 2. You're a good Chupacabra. And then if they go to answer it, we have Evolutionary Leap. Think this is about as good as we can do here. Even if they try to bring back the Arclight Phoenixes, they're only attacking for 3. We're currently hitting for 4. We also have the Lotless Giant that they know about, so in 2 turns we're going to be able to hit them for 2, 3, 4, potentially 6. And I assume we're going to mill more before then anyway. But you really can't put it past the cantripping deck with 7 cards in hand to just go full-on combo out. They're probably going to find another Phoenix here, swing at us for 6. That means I have to find another answer in addition to this Plague Crafter. Bending Thing in the ice. Alright, they went for another Cackling Drake. Seems fair. Do I want a sack of Choops? Yeah, I want a sack of Choops. If I find another one, I'm just in a pretty decent spot. I do not, but this Stitcher Supplier is actually pretty fair. It's going to give me a really good sack outlet for this Plague Crafter. We'll sack that. We're going to have a fairly stocked yard at this point. There's Izani, another Lotleth, Wayfinder. A lot of lands, though. So, expecting to see it, 1 Phoenix, it's fairly safe to assume they're going to have 2, maybe 3. Opponent being at 13 isn't a very low life total, but yeah, I don't think we're in a great spot. We're currently ahead on board, but we are down in resources, and they do have an Arclight Phoenix, and we don't have a permanent answer to that yet. I'm really trying to hold this Deathrite Shaman. It really bugs me when I watch people playing and they don't actually explain something that looks obvious. This Deathrite Shaman is not currently going to live. Between the number of removal spells that they bend, this is just going to die, and I've had to tap out every turn. There could have been an argument last turn to Stitcher Supplier, to Deathrite over Stitcher Supplier, but I think fueling my yard in case I find 2 more lands for this Lotless Giant to just finish the opponent off is a better win condition than expecting to start to win with the Deathrite Shaman activation every turn. Opponent has plenty of things going on, and the 7 cards in hand, like I can't imagine a world where I'm not kind of in trouble. I'm actually thinking opponents trying to figure out if it's worth playing a Thing in the Ice and flipping it this turn. I know this isn't modern and they can't do nearly as busted things without Manamorphose and the like, but they are going to have a lot of options here. They can try to find more Phoenixes to bin and potentially swing out for 9, try to burn me for 8. They can just run out a Thing in the Ice, risk or threaten flipping it so that my creatures can't attack. Like, they're going to have a lot of different options here, and I think running out Deathrite Shaman to his death is not correct until they try to remove one of these creatures. So I'm leaving up the evolutionary leaps that they are not incentivized to remove these creatures and can continue to apply pressure while opponents trying to figure out how to deal with them and actually start moving to his board state. That Treasure Cruise there was not a card I really had on my radar. With 7 cards in hand, they had a lot of different options, so they might be desperate here. Yeah, that Treasure Cruise makes me feel a little bit better. Like, they obviously just have more gas to go off of, but hitting the land post Treasure Cruise makes me think that they just have a lot of gas in hand. Well, hello there, Crackling Drake. And they're still just cantripping. And this guy can one-shot me. It's possible they have Temur Battle Rage. Alright, and I do need to actually find a removal spell here, so I'm going to sack the other Chupacabra. Hornet Queen kind of works. I'm a little short on mana here. Yep, there we go. That was the removal spell that sets me up for Deathrite Shaman. As long as they don't have Battle Rage, we might be okay here. So, 6 mana. 1 shy. And because I do want that 7th land, I'm actually going to just use this as a swamp thanks to Urborg. There's our green, there's a Grim Flayer. Ooh, boy. I actually should have tapped differently because now I don't have two evolutionary leaps up. Well, we might be dead. If opponent can get six more instants and sorceries in exile slash graveyard, they could have this. Oh, I actually could have tried to draw into Swift End here. That's a line I didn't consider. Evolutionary Leap would actually get me Murderous Rider, and Murderous Rider would allow me to cast Swift End. That's actually super cute. I like that. Alright. Well, they discarded a land, so my assessment might have been off there unless they hit two off the Treasure Cruise. Okay, there's another Grimflayer. But this is currently 12 damage coming at me. It also might have been correct to hold this up. Holding this up actually would have bluffed a Fatal Push because I could have triggered Revolt at instant speed. But like Wild Slash puts us 2 damage off. So dead to double Wild Slash or Phoenix. Two more spells, we're dead. I really don't like the lack of oomph in this deck. Yeah, that's probably going to get at least one more. Yep, they hit a Charted Course, so currently 15. Dead to a Wild Slash, probably another Strategic Planning, likely an Omp. Like, they have 7 cards in hand. I just want to see it. Yep, you got it, opponent. So far, seen a lot of the problems that I would have expected, and that's just we don't have a big enough finish. We could have something like a World Spine Worm in the list, but we can't whip it. Ulamog eating 20 cards is in a win condition. Yeah, I don't like Massacre Girl here. We could potentially get a board clear off of this, but we're going to sack a lot of our own creatures. And honestly, bringing her in and hitting for 4 doesn't feel like we're winning. Golos is probably a little too greedy as well. I could see Tireless Tracker being okay if we wanted to try to grind, but I think the better win condition is just explode and take him out early. I could also see... Actually, what could I see? They wouldn't have Grafdigger's Cage. It stops their Phoenixes from coming back. They might have Tormod's Crypt. I don't know why I'm speculating. Let's just look at Goldfish. Pioneer. Is it Phoenix? Yeah, we should be expecting Anger of the Gods, but nothing that hates in our graveyard. So, let's see. What do we actually care about here? This kind of gets around Anger. Do we actually just want the Massacre Girl? That doesn't seem right. But we'd end up hitting a Stitcher Supplier or Wayfinder, hitting -1/-1 across the board, get the Phoenixes, and then likely kill Thing in the Ice. We'll never kill a Woken Horror with it. That's probably not good enough. Plus, they might be boarding out the Phoenixes, expecting us to have any graveyard hate, and they did see our Deathrite Shamans. Could it just be the Thoughtseizes? Thoughtseize take Treasure Cruise is actually really good tempo. Thoughtseize take Thing in the Ice is going to make it so that we can attack pretty continuously. Yeah, I think that means no Tireless Trackers and trim some Murderous Riders and maybe just a little bit of our graveyard. I do think we need to be explosive here, but taking out 1-drops for 1-drop seems fairly fair. Otherwise, it would probably be a Chupacabra, but Chupacabra's unconditional removal for anything that they have. Izani could probably be it. I really like the Hornets for Death Touch versus the Phoenix. It also blocks the Awoken Horror pretty well. I like Izani. We'll get a couple of chump blockers, and then we can actually draw cards off of it. I don't know, Grimflayer dies to Wild Slash before Delirium. Post-Delirium dies to Lightning Axe. Has to make contact, which means getting through a Thing in the Ice. Yeah, I think I just talked myself into that. Kalitas here is going to make it so that any of the phoenixes actually get exiled, and we will play first. Well, we have a little bit of the combo. Not a huge fan of having Lotless Giant in our opening hand, but this is Stitcher Supplier into Leap, Tapland, Ravenous. That's fine. Cards like this just aren't really that exciting. It feels like we're having a lot of wrong half problems where we really need Whip for this to work. This curve does not feel amazing. Yeah, I don't know. I'm honestly not sold on this idea. As I mentioned in the deck tech, I just assume that we're going to do kind of poorly overall because we just don't have the finishers that we need that we have in the other formats. Well, hitting Murderous Rider kind of sucks. I'd rather have the Swift End. Deathrite Shaman's pretty good here too. If they have anything, it's going to be a counter spell for the Evolutionary Leap or potentially just a bounce spell. Okay. They don't have Spell Pierce up, so I'm slamming Evolutionary Leap now. Alright, get in there for one. I believe in you. You're going to go the distance. You're a good little zombie. And by I mean you're going to go the distance. You're likely going to swing for one next turn and then sacrifice yourself for evolutionary sake. You'll be doing the zombie genus real solid there. Alright, so Satyr Wayfinder has to find me on untapped land. I can't pass up a whip. Oh boy, but that means I can't shoot next turn. Opponent really shouldn't be able to flip Thing in the Ice yet. Oh, nope, because Satyr Wayfinder's actually going to mill it now. That was poor sequencing on my part. I was supposed to Wayfinder and then Scry. My apologies on that one. That was horribly done on my part. Oh, and we hit 2 whips. Yikes. Well, next turn we get Choop the Thing in the Ice. Opponent, they shouldn't bring in Essence Scatter. They should have negates in the board. Alright. They left 3 lands untapped. I could assume that this is a Quicken into something. That's at least the read that I'm getting. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and Choops the titty. Disdainful Stroke, cute. I guess that does hit a lot of our deck. Hit you for 1. Who knows? Stitcher Supplier might go the distance. Go poke things. I believe in you. So, trying to think ahead to next turn, I can Evolutionary Leap, sack the Stitcher Supplier, hopefully hit Delirium. Like, it's very unlikely. It's not like we have anything like a Walking Ballista that's 2 creature types, but Grimflayer would survive a Wild Slash at that point. There's a Cackling Drake, so might be Evolutionary Leaping for a Swift End. Alright, well, let's try it. Stitcher Supplier better fuels our yard. Did not find. So Satyr Wayfinder, 0.2. We're going to shock this into play and run out the Deathrite Shaman. This is currently a 1/4, so I'm not overly concerned about it, but this allows me to Evolutionary Leap it if they try to remove it. We do have Delirium, so the Grimflayer should be a 4/4 should it come out. That's at least some good news. So what have you got? I'm expecting just a horrible chain of events that like flip this after you hit me for 5. I guess that actually wouldn't be viable. They'd only be able to hit me for 4. Well, 3 before it flips. Never mind. I guess that's not true. You can just directly bin things. Odds of them finding 2 1-drops feel kind of unlikely. I guess they could have Wild Slash, Opt, Quicken. They have a couple of things they could hit. All right, it's a Disdainful Stroke and a Treasure Cruise. That Treasure Cruise does not bode well. It could have just been a land, I suppose. If they wanted to hit their land drop this turn, bidding the Treasure Cruise isn't that bad. It also turns on 2 drops for them. We hit a Stitcher Supplier. We're going to have a pretty stocked graveyard, but I don't think that really benefits anything. Then they're likely going to sit back on this thing in the ice until they have to act. They can either use it to protect the Crackling Drake, or they can use it to just make sure they fog my attack step or something. Yeah, we fell pretty far behind here. I could see a world where I can Lotleth Giant one-shot them if I find something that I actually care about. 9 creature cards, up to 11. We hit the Kalitas. I'm sacking the Stitcher Supplier to get more cards into the graveyard and to also try to find my Swift End. I hit a Choops, but it's a little late for Choops. Running out the Grimflayer here doesn't actually benefit me at all. I think I'm cracking the Satyr Wayfinder looking for another Satyr Wayfinder so I can actually find a land, but at this point I think we're closer to milling out than beating the opponent. Well, I found it. Down to 23 cards. Ooh, Fabled Passages. We don't have a ton of basics. I'm going to take the Castle Locklane here. Yeah, let's just mill for 3 more. If I top deck a land, I'll be able to hit opponent for probably 17. So they have to kill me here. Which they showed us last turn isn't impossible, but they shouldn't know about this. Yeah, I don't think they've shown anything that would know about it. I guess they could still have up the Disdainful Stroke. Oh, I might have revealed it to the Evolutionary Leap. I'd have to look back through the logs. I'm pretty sure that they know about... I do know that they know about the Chupacabra, but I think they know about the Grimflayer. Alright, well, dead to 6 points of damage. Could be any number of Arclight Phoenixes, Wild Slashes. But opponent's also dead to a land. Alright, can you wrap it up? I believe you probably can with 5 cards in hand. Although if you're hardcasting Arclight Phoenix and you don't have a follow-up to Disdainful Stroke me, you probably can't. Land, land, land! Hornet Queen. Lame. Alright, I'm not going to have reach. Swift End's going to put me at 1. I'm assuming the opponent has a Wild Slash ready. They either have Spell Pierce or Wild Slash. I guess I can make them have it. Woodland Cemetery is good. I don't have to shock it into play. Then I can Chupacabra here. That's going to take down the Arclight Phoenix. I have 2 chump blockers for the Awoken Horror. So they have to flip that back into play, and I'll have 1 more shot at getting a land. They also have 1 more shot at just burning me. Alright, they just had it in hand. Alright, hard to complain about that. Alright, well, we moved to 0-2. Not an exciting round, but thought so far, Whip Leap doesn't feel like it's powerful enough. I think that's just going to be the bottom line takeaway. I understand I have things like Azuni and Golos in here that aren't ideal, but our best cards to flip with Whip of Erebos just are not amazing at the moment. If we get something better there, I could potentially see it, but the only other build I saw that even kind of was worth experimenting with was the Agent of Treachery build, and that requires going Sultai. You get things like Chart a Course, but it just didn't feel strong enough. Okay, so Grim Flayer on 2, and then reveal we're a Graveyard deck by Satyr Wayfinder Stitchers on 3. It's also take this off. It's also possible that I'm supposed to only keep hands with Whip, but if your plan is to turn 4 Whip, turn 5 bring something back, you didn't really set up the board at all. So it's going to be a little hard to stay alive, and that doesn't feel like that's good enough to actually win the game. Alright. Fabled Passage, crack it to get it out of the way. Perfectly fine. Forest means it might be the Mono Green Devotion deck. But in the meantime, Grim Flayer is probably going to be doing the best thing this deck that could be doing, which is mid-range and fill the yard. Yeah, so Ashen Rider was a pretty decent target. Bedlam Reveler was something that I had considered. Most of the Eldrazi. Oh, this is Enchantress. Okay, we might actually have a shot here. Yeah, that doesn't actually help anything at all. I'm going to look for a tap land off the Satyr Wayfinder in case it's relevant before actually running out my swamp. Alright, let's take a peek. Found a Fabled Passage and a basic Forest. This will tell opponent what we're doing, but Fabled Passage, we don't have a ton of non-basics in the deck, and it's possible opponents on Field of Ruin. I'm just going to take the basic here, and then I have to run out the swamp for the Stitcher Supplier. And we got lucky and hit Delirium because of that Whip of Erebos. They could have Eidolon of Blossoms. I don't think Massacre Girl is that good. If we hit a point that they are getting things, it's either going to be Starfield of Nyx, where they reanimate all of their like 4 CMC plus enchantments, or we get Sigiled to death, and that's kind of just a temporary thing. Deathrite Shaman's pretty easy to ban. I kind of on board for the Castle Lock Lane. I don't think I want the Massacre Girl, though. As far as 4th land, is this a good one? I'd need more green for Hornet Queen. Let's keep this. I like drawing cards too much. But yeah, like Galta is a target for Whip, just 12 damage. Not a huge fan of that. Polyraptor's kind of cute because you'll end up keeping a token if you can find a way to damage it. Agent of Treachery steals something of theirs, and then you have a couple of the Elder Dragons, but they're good because they have a lot of keywords and they stick around, not because they're powerful on their own. Alright, Vessel. This is to help get Delirium. They're also the Abzan build, which means Doomwake Giants in my future. Massacre Girl will kill my Grim Flayer at the moment, so I don't want to do anything with that. They don't know about the Castle Lock Lane because it was a Grim Flayer trigger. I can't imagine they have anything in these colors that can stop me from attacking here. Whip's just going to make it so that I get lifelink on everything and can also buy back anything that fueled the graveyard. They can block to save one, but it means that I'm going to fuel my graveyard with Whip later, so I can't imagine that that's a good thing for the opponent. Hornet Queen Graveyard. Murderous Rider. Do I want this? Herald's like their only creature. It does let them explode. We'll put one into the bin and we'll actually keep one on top. The one on top is going to make it so that if they Sigil next turn or if they Starfield next turn, then I can just blow up the Herald and they can't fully explode. Excuse me, had to cough. All right. Eidolon lets them draw cards, so this is the new target. Fabled Passage here means they might have a Silk Wrap or a Seal Away. Nope, just... Yeah, I don't know what that was. Alright. Kill this, attack for 5. Whippin' Hornet Queen hit for 2. Whippin' Massacre Girl wreck the board but have 4 Menace on the table. I really don't want them to have this. Them getting all stacksy or even just running out something like Sphere of Safety is going to be super bad for us. If I Swift in though, I only hit for 5. Yeah, let's hit this. Oh, opponent said they love the deck. Alright. Yep, let's get our beats on. The Hornet Queen did not get reanimated here because I am mostly concerned about, yep, bending that, bending that, bending that. Sphere of Safety here. I don't want to pay currently, well, with the Eidolon out, at least 3 to attack with a 1/1 Hornet. And I think opponent's currently in a spot where they have to Sphere of Safety if they've got it. Otherwise, they're just dead. Enchantments. What does that mean for us? Likely Rip is coming in, so there's the Assassin's Trophies. Noxious Grasp hits a creature or planeswalker. If it hit enchantments, I'd be more inclined to keep it. Thoughtseize is in here because they are essentially a combo deck. They're a little slow moving, but they are a combo deck. I think Hornet Queen is bad for the exact reason I just mentioned. We can leave it up for Sigil, but if they get multiple angels with Sigil, we're not coming back from that. Rexage, easy include. Cuts, Murderous Rider, it did a little bit of work there, but we're not going to remove most of their creatures. We have a couple of other things that can do that for us, like the Ravenous Choops and the Plague Crafters and all that. How do I feel about Golos? Golos can get me Castle Locklane. Not good enough. If we had the Rainbow Land, I think I'd keep Golos in more often, but that was a mistake on my part. Tireless Tracker seems fine if we're making those cuts, and then like I said, anytime that we are expecting graveyard hate, Assassin's Trophy comes in, we're likely bringing out Stitcher Supplier because it's really explosive, but it's not good to top deck if our graveyard shut down. So that's looking about as ideal as we can get it. In the meantime, though, yeah, Assassin's Trophy, Evolutionary Leap. This isn't good enough. We need something a little faster. Okay, this is fine. Likely going to be shipping a... Actually, I think I'm shipping the Fabled Passage. Satyr Wayfinder is going to find me 2 more lands. And then this is going to enter tapped. I'll just shock this into play, go find my 3rd land and my 4th land. We're on the draw. We have a couple of different opportunities to find that. And that shock likely means Fatal Push. Or we'll just naturally draw our basic like a boss. Massacre Girl can go to the bottom. I don't mind having it in the deck, but it's not good here. I am 100% reading that this is Fatal Push. So I think I'd prefer not to run out the Grim Flayer yet. Yeah, let's just look for an additional land. They are better late game, but I still kind of just want to set up. They likely would have ripped here if they had it. I'm also not sure if their deck's going to run Rip or Leyline. Leyline gets to enter for free, but Rip clears everything that's currently in the yard. Which, yeah, we hit some stuff. Nothing great, but we hit stuff. Then next turn, it can be Grimflayer and a tap land, or it can be Evolutionary Leap and hold it to sack the Wayfinder. Let's see what they're doing. Oath of Kaya. Yep, that's a pretty good one. They get to shoot down something of their choice. But seeing as how they just removed our thing, that puts me on Grimflayer. Ooh, Thoughtseize. I like Thoughtseize. Let's take a peek first before making any decisions. Starfield, Eidolon, Doom Foretold. Huh. This Doom Foretold's a problem. Starfield's just going to buy back the Doom Foretold. Eidolon is card advantage. Oath of Kai is already on the table. It can shoot something, but I don't think that's that important. Currently, we have one card type in the yard. That's awful. It's about to go to 2, but yeah, I think Doom Foretold is the worst card for us here. We're going to find a way to answer the Eidolon in the near future, so not overly concerned with that one. Then Oath of Kai can come down and kill our Grimflayer here, so I think that means for the moment we're on Satyr Wayfinder again. Alright, there's an Overgrown Tomb. And we found our Deathrite Shamans. How do I feel about that? It's each opponent, so it gets around Leyline. It's technically ramp. Alright, expecting Eidolon here. I mean, they could Legend Rule themselves, but it's not like this guy's doing a ton to them. They've hurt themselves with off their Shocklands more than I've attacked for. Guess this gained them 3, so they took 2 shocks. They did show us the Temple Garden. I could see a world where they drew the Herald, and they want a Herald, and... Okay, nope, they're just going for it. Makes sense, makes sense. 2 card types. Well, we can make it 3. Yeah, I think we're whipping this turn. I really just don't want to run the Grimflayer out into the Oath of Kaya. Oath of Kaya killing Grimflayer takes all of our pressure off the table. And we have so many lands here, I kind of don't mind just chaining stuff to get together and getting value off of the leap. Do want to thin my deck a little bit, though. We've seen far too many lands. I have a swamp. I already have double green, though, so we'll get another swamp. It's our most used color. Oh, nope, needed green for the evolutionary leap. Just thought about that. And then I am going to sack here on the off chance we get a Deathrite Shaman. I can't attack in any way, and I'd rather make a 1-drop. Oh my gosh, look at that call. That was amazing. So 3 card types in the yard now. I have to start eating my opponent's stuff, and they only have an enchantment. Yep, there's the Herald. So they can Oath of Kaya against the Deathrite Shaman. That should clear the way for the Grimflayer, but they're drawing a card too. I need to find removal. Yes, I will 100% play that deck. Oh, there's another Doom Foretold. Thank you, by the way, for the comment. I've been doing this for a little while. It's always nice to hear that people are enjoying it. Butcher of the Horde was a consideration. I really wanted to put Rabblemaster and Legion Warboss in the same deck, though, and I don't have either Legion Warboss or the Rabblemaster, and buying them is going to be like $80. I'm currently on the waiting list to get a loaner account from Card Hoarder. If that goes through, then... Oh boy, what am I sacking here? I guess just Deathrite Shaman. It's just going to... I'm waiting on the loaner account from Card Hoarder. When that comes in, that's actually going to be one of the first decks that I build. I am actually very excited about that deck. Okay, there's our Grimflayer. We still only have 3 card types. We're going to have to sack a... Yeah, this isn't good. So they just get to blow up my Grimflayer. I guess I crack it in response and actually get something. Yep, they sack the Oath of Kaya because they're going to Legend Rule themselves to kill my Grimflayer. Yeah, Stoke the Flames with Butcher of the Horde and Rabblemaster was an amazing con stack. I love that one. That was so much fun. Have you heard of Dirty Kitty in Modern? That sounds like the deck that you're trying to build. I really wish that deck was better, but it just scoops so hard to removal. But yeah, I'll make a note of that. We'll figure out when we get the opportunity to do that. Let's open Slack, and I'll make a note to myself to try to include that card. We're going to sack you, and then this is going to make us sack our Evolutionary Leap at end step. They get a draw card. Plaguecrafter is interesting. I don't know. I think we fell behind here. All their enchantments are currently costing 2 less. They're going to gain life every time that they cast something, and then they're going to draw a card for casting it. We didn't find anything like a Chupacabra for the targeted removal. We're just going to drown to this Eidolon of Blossoms, and then they're even getting more pseudo-card advantage. You can stack their deck with the card draws off the Eidolon. Yeah. We're losing our Evolutionary Leap here. Castle Lockling can start drawing us cards, but it's also going to cost us life. Tireless Tracker is kind of close to getting us back into this, because it'll give us clues to sack to the Doom Foretold. There's our Tireless Tracker. There's our Fabled Passage. And funny enough, the wording on this is whenever you sacrifice a clue. So if we sacrifice it to Doom Foretold... Oh, this is non-token, isn't it? Non-token permanent. Yep, so likely not coming back. Oh, that's rough. But if I could sacrifice the token, Tireless Tracker would grow despite the fact I don't draw a card. That's the fun interaction I wanted to point out. Alright, we're going to sack you. Then I can at least start drawing with the clues with this surplus of mana that I've gotten. We have 1, 2 lands in the yard. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We've drawn a lot of cards. This might actually not be a lot of lands. Especially because I think we milled over at least one of these with the Stitcher Supplier. Wait, sorry, that's my graveyard as well. So 10, 11. Yeah, we've just drawn a lot of cards. There's a Starfield. So Starfield will make all of their enchantments XX's equal to their converted mana cost. This is one of the more interesting rulings in Magic. Opalescence was the original card this was designed off of, and they called it the Judge Killer because this, Valakut, Urborg, and I'm blanking on the other one, but they all deal with layers. So if they end up getting 5 or more enchantments, they're just going to activate all of these, and they're going to swing in. Interesting thing about layers, this turns into a 3/3 because its converted mana cost is 3. And I can answer Doom Foretold with creature removal now, which seems pretty sweet. Yep, I have to take 8 here. If I don't sack the Tireless Tracker... Actually, I probably didn't need to take 8. I could have blocked 4 instead of losing 2 and discarding. Alright, well, I get a Crack a Clue, so I get 2 shots at a Chupacabra. I think I get... No, just 2 shots at a Chupacabra. Massacre Girl won't answer it. The dreaded Upkeep Stop. Woodland Cemetery. Do we get there? Lotless Giant. Well, we're dead to combat damage. 2 drops really quick. Grimflayer, Satyr Wayfinder, Leap. Yeah, we're dead. Alright, sideboarding. Does anything change? They didn't show us any graveyard hate. I guess Goose can eat the enchantments and Deathrite can't. I think I'm on that trim for that reason. They had the Doom Foretold in the yard that I had discarded, and Starfield brought it back. So Scoos could at least keep enchantments out of their yard. I don't think Hornet Queen's good enough. If we stick around with a whip, we're going to be able to bring in a lot of value. Like getting the Death Touch blockers will make it so that Starfield isn't as big of an out, but yeah, that just doesn't feel good enough. They are Abzan. Doomwake Giant's just going to kill all the Hornets anyway. They are Abzan, don't want to start on the Urborg, but this is great. I love this hand. I'd love a different third land for this Tireless Tracker, though, so I can actually get 2 clues off the Fabled Passage. But learning from last game, I want to just run out Grimflayer as soon as possible, smash him in the face, put a real clock up, and then hopefully go from there. Ooh, that's actually going to have to get me green for a Grimflayer on turn 2. Yeah, that kind of changes things. I need to go get my green. Saw the curve, saw the fetch land, figured we were good, but did not have the additional green there. No push? No push. I guess we are technically the beatdown here. The 2 life might not be worth it if they can just untap and answer it. A lot of their stuff are expensive, so I could see them just trying to be disciplined and wait to push on their next turn as opposed to that end step. Guess we'll see. Herald. Alright, gonna need to find a answer to that. Alright, well, Tyler's Tracker is technically a 4-drop here, and I can double spell anyway, so let's just start going for this. Satyr Wayfinder, put a couple of cards in the yard, hopefully turn on Delirium. So that's going to be a creature, a sorcery, another creature, and a land. Really, really close. I do want Castle Locklane, though. 3 card types. Alright, Mr. Deathrite, you're coming out. Because I have this other Satyr Wayfinder, I'm not attacking with the Grimflayer yet. I don't believe this trade is worth it until at least next turn when they'd be making 5 drops on 4. Making 4 drops on 3 is not nearly as good. It's part of the reason why cards like Rattleclaw Mystic never perform very well. Making your 3 on 2 is better than your 4 on 3, but your 5 on 4 is also quite good. Alright, well, that's a real card. It cantrips. I would also love another way to, like, specifically get Delirium. Some kind of artifact creature. So, Tireless Tracker, land, exile the land. So, I have to Fabled Passage here if I want a Satyr Wayfinder and Tireless Tracker, and I had to run out Tracker first. I did the math specifically for that. Alright, well, there we go. There's that. Currently still have 3 card types, but I had to get the Fabled Passage in the yard so I don't lose my land type. Here's the green. Satyr Wayfinder. Yeah, I'm down a clue. If that costs us, that's going to be awful. Alright, there's an instant, so Delirium is on. And I wouldn't be too surprised to see them double block here. Alright, looks like they're not. Another Grimflayer is probably okay. Don't want the Fabled Passage. Tireless Tracker next turn means I'm getting a ton of clues. I can keep up with their card draw, but it's going to be a massive mana sink. Yeah, actually, Grimflayer is just a little bit too far on the slow side. Let's go with the Tireless Tracker, and we can start growing both of them at the same time, and hopefully kill our opponent before Doom Foretold starts stacking up or anything like that. Alright, there's the rip. Guess it's better that we kept the Tireless Tracker. Casting this for 2 cantrips. Yeah, I could see them wanting rip over the Leyline of the Void. Leyline's just a little bit better with Starfield, but you have to get Starfield online. Drawing 2 cards a turn now. Well, that's pretty good for our opponent. Grimflayer shrinking means I'm happy to trade it off at any point now. There's our Tireless Tracker. They have 3 black. Just going to Urborg now. These 3 are now Doom Foretold sack outlets. And I am attacking with this Tireless Tracker here as well as the Grimflayer. If they don't double block, I can just grow it. Just profitable blocks all around. Show me something big. Show me the money. And this does technically work as a scry. I don't get to use the graveyard anymore, but I can still stack my draws. Something like a Massacre Girl. My bad. Should have looked at what I drew. Can clear the board fairly easily for them. That's if they Starfield and all that fun jazz. In the meantime, though, next turn going to be attacking for 10. This won't have trample. If I crack 2 clues, they'll have to triple block to kill it. Yeah, no more lands. I have 2 in hand. What is going on, deck? Alright, now they need to drop a Sphere of Safety. I think that's their best out at this point. And I have Assassin's Trophies I can draw into. I have a Rex Sage I can draw into. I have a couple of outs. Oath of Kaya, gonna kill a Tireless Tracker. Oh boy, that's a lot of cards. If I were an opponent, I'd go for the untapped one. Very minimal things that'd make a difference there, but it is a little bit more correct. Yes, I do have a schedule for my stream. Sorry, I got a little preoccupied there. It's Sunday and Wednesday at 6:30 Mountain Time. That's 5:30 Pacific. I try really hard to keep my stream. Like, I have a migraine tonight, but I'm still going for it. I need to get that updated on Twitch. It's something that I've been meaning to do for a while. We do also have all of our stuff up on YouTube, so if you are looking for any more content, we have probably about 8 months worth of content up there. It was pretty much all Modern into Pioneer. Bye, Satyr Wayfinder, you tried. Ooh, Evolutionary Leap's pretty decent here. So, if I Massacre Girl, then everything dies. So if Kaya bought them so much life. I can crack 3 clues and get a ton. Really appreciate the kind words. Let's see here. So I think I just have to swing in with the same guys. Evolutionary Leap first. How do I only have 1 green? I am not paying attention. Yeah, with only 1 green, I don't want to Evolutionary Leap first. I'm going to be paying black to sack the clues. So if I draw something that requires the green, like the Assassin's Trophy, I'll be pretty happy. Alright, fair trade. I'm sorry, my head does hurt really bad at the moment. Alright, well, we're cracking another one. The whole good old post-combat clue crack. At this point, this Evolutionary Leap is probably just going to be the sack target for the Doom Foretold. If I actually Massacre Girl here, I can clear the board, make them sack the Rip, and we could actually turn the Whip plan back online. Ugh. Sorry, I had another coughing spell. Courser's good for them. Like, really good. Courser and Eidolon was probably my favorite combo in Standard at the time. I did some Narset Infinite Mills with Retraction Helix and Astral Cornucopia, and I love that deck. Infinite Mill with the Altar of the Brood, but just for value, like, this was amazing. If you have a card on top that you're still looking for a land, you just cast any enchantment. Eidolon draws the top card off, and then you hopefully find another land. Alright, there goes Fabled Passage. More life gained. So currently, nope, there's another Rest in Peace. Currently, Massacre Girl will kill everything, including the Tireless Tracker. I have to crack 2 more clues for it to not kill all the other creatures. Oof. That's another Doom Foretold. That actually kind of helps me, though, because then I sack the Deathrite Shaman, and I don't get as many minuses off the Massacre Girl. Yep, by Deathrite Shaman. By Evolutionary Leap. Does that change anything? I don't believe so. So Massacre Girl comes in, -1/-1. That's 2, 3, 4, 5. So crack 1 clue, Massacre Girl, and I'm solid. I do need to shock this into play. Oh, if I kill that, though, that is actually tireless. Nope, we're good. I'm sorry. Mathing super fell today. Ooh. Never mind, it rips out. What? They're not going to triple block me. I'm going to attack now because Massacre Girl will shrink the size of this tireless tracker. If they triple block, I'll just grow them. Okay, that was not what I was envisioning. So I can kill everything but the Courser now? Yeah, this is Menace. I think that this is high enough that I want to do it. -3, -3 to everything. Why did this not die? I'm sorry, my head is killing me. So we killed the Satyr Wayfinder. This was a 2/2. Alright, I'm just going to have to chalk that up to not being able to math. If somebody sees why that didn't die, feel free to tell me. If you're on YouTube later, comments, or Twitch here. Oh! Nope, it doesn't because they get exiled. I actually ran into the same problem with Rest in Peace and Soul Herder. That was actually a really fun rules interaction. If you kill your Walking Ballista by sacrificing it, you give the 1/1 counter to the Soul Herder. So I wasn't able to kill it because I thought I could just ping it. But I died, then it grew, and then it took the damage. Yeah, so that's pretty painful. I guess I should have ran out Massacre Girl earlier. Would at least be attacking for 4. Opponent has a Vessel incoming. They've got 4 mana available, but the 2 active Doom Foretold's, they found their 3rd rip. Yeah. Where are my Assassin's Trophies at? Rexage? Any of the above? I like all those cards. Luckily, Tireless Tracker is a very, very good Magic card. It's kind of keeping us in this. Jeez, I can even hardcast this. Does nothing for me, though. Bye, Tireless Tracker, you tried. Temple of Malady, not amazing. I am going to scry first in case I want to draw it with the clue. Yeah, I don't need you anymore. Scoos won't get any bigger. There's the Assassin's Trophy. So I get to run that out at end step, which means I'm going to be on Scav. Yeah, I have to be on Scoos now. Opponent's going to have to sack 2 things to the Doom Foretold, and then I can blow one up. I kind of don't mind discarding some of these cards. I'm killing the Eidolon now so that it turns off their card draw engine. I'm going to untap, have to sack my Scoos. I'll discard Izani, and then it'll be opponent's go to sack Rip and one of their creatures. I should have let the first one resolve before Assassin's Trophying. It's just a little bit cleaner. Well, that whip I bought him is looking a little promising with the 3rd Rest in Peace going away. Wow, another Courser. Opponent has more life than they started with. Whip leap, whip leap, whip leap. I know I didn't play perfectly today, but very disappointed in you at the moment. This Eidolon means that they continue drawing. Like, the out I think I'd be playing to at this point is time. I don't like trying to time my opponent out. They're drawing a lot of cards, though. They haven't really started pressuring our life total. If there were a 1/1 on the battlefield, Massacre Girl could kill all the creatures, get the Doom Foretolds off the table, and then I don't think they can win. So maybe try to get a Stitcher Supplier or Voyaging Satyr off the top of the deck. I can whip, sack. I'll have 5 mana available, but I'd need to find a 1-drop first. They have another enchantments coming out, costing less. Sack you. Discard you. Woodland Cemetery. Not exactly what I was looking for. That got them a night. I'm going to activate Castle Lochlane now because I'm going to have to discard... Oh, hello. Okay, new plan. What we're going to do is we're going to evolutionary leap so that we have a permanent sacrifice this Doom Foretold. Then we can Masquerade next turn, and then Assassin's Trophy something for the kill, and we'll wipe the board. Then it'll go to their upkeep. They won't have any non-land permanents they can sack. Yeah, I think that's one of the few ways we could pull this off. So I need to... Sorry, I need to know the exact wording on this. So when it enters the battlefield, each other creature gets -1/-1 until the end of turn. When a creature dies, each other creature other than her. So I resolve her ability and then I Assassin's Trophy. Wow, and there's a Starfield of Nyx. Oh, opponent has one of these in hand. I could have been doing better to watch all the cards going into the hand with Courser, but they got rid of their rips so that they could start Starfielding. That's a really fun interaction. I think opponent did really well with their deck. I know there's been a couple of variants surfacing around online, but like that's some sweet synergy right there. There's a Starfield Mystic, just another creature that'll die to Massacre Girl, assuming we get to pull the combo off. There's the Starfield of Nyx. That could technically be a sack other than the Doom Foretold. Actually, they get to stack it so that they can bring something back and then do Doom Foretold. So I think we might just be out of luck here. I guess... Actually, no, because that turned on all of their creatures. So I get to nuke the board and then hit the Starfield with the Assassin's Trophy. Like, these are 1/1s. Oh, am I dead, though? 8, 11, 15. Yep, so I actually have to force them to attack, and then I Assassin's Trophy the Starfield. Assassin's Trophy in the Starfield will make it so that this is not a 4/4 and will survive. That's also going to be a 2/2 at that point. Ooh, boy, this has been a good game. That one punt aside. Alright, you got it, opponent. I need to find a 1/1 or another removal spell. Yep, I have no blockers for you. We go to 3. Yeah, sack the Evolutionary Leap because I thought ahead last turn. And that's the Woodland Cemetery. So... 4, I can Massacre Girl, but I need something specifically for black. I guess that puts me on Stitcher Supplier. Playcrafter. Not going to cut it. Well, opponent was pretty cool. I'm just going to show them what the plan was. Then if something died, I would have cleared their board. Yep. Alright, well, GG's opponent. Overall, Whip Leap doing about as well as I thought. We'll go ahead and queue up for another one. I don't know if we're going to play all 3 matches of it, though. I'm not really feeling this one in a dirty way, but it's a sweet deck. It's doing sweet things. I like it, but actually, let's go back to this guy. So if we take a look at our CMC greater than 7 Legal and Pioneer list, we get like Zakama, it'll untap all of our lands for us. We can do a couple activated abilities, but then he just goes away. The Indestructible doesn't mean much if you're whipping it in for the single turn. Worldspine Worm is really good, but it has a clause when it's put into the graveyard from anywhere, you shuffle it, and you can only activate Whip at sorcery speed. There's a couple of the big like demon things. I should have put a creature type on this. But Agent of Treachery was about the best card that we could bring back, and he's not even... like overkill. He's just okay. Sorry, opponent. If we get better whip targets in the future, we might be fine. But at the moment, this does feel severely underpowered. We have a Deathrite with no fuel and 3 lands, but that means we get a Plaguecrafter on 3 on the play. Yeah, we'll go. Tapping out for 4 mana for a do-nothing artifact and enchantment that gets hit by both pieces just feels a little bad. Oko can hit it because it's an artifact. Alright, Spirits. Actually, with green. I'm not 100% sure what this is. I have some decent suspicions, but I'm not 100%. Well, Deathrite's not activating, and he's not blocking, so let's get in for 1. Then next turn, Plaguecrafter. The nice thing about all this creature removal is that things like Mausoleum Wanderer and Judge's Familiar can't hit it. Most people have negates in their sideboard in this format to stop the Planeswalkers. Yikes. And they're coming out fast. That's a Grim Flare. Does that change anything? No, I think I want to get rid of one of these two. They're both technically good enough threats that I have to answer them right now. Plaguecrafter's probably going to sack Deathrite Shaman. No, we'll sack ourselves because we have 2 whips in hand. If we find a mana source, then whipping in Plaguecrafter is actually going to give us an out. Just an Edict effect for 4. Attacking in is just going to bounce. Like, can't imagine any reason why I need to keep Deathrite Shaman back, but send a message maybe. Deathrite Shaman's going to get his beats in past the Supreme Phantom. Temple Garden. So it's Bant. This is likely Rattle Chains or Supreme. Ooh, Selfless Spirit. That's not bad for them. Massacre Girl gets around it though. Hornet Queen's pretty good. Land! I want this whip! Well, sadness ensues. Stitcher Supplier. If we find a land, we can do whip next turn. Yikes. Well, we can do it next turn. Grim Flare. Selfless Spirit's bigger than Deathrite. 3 card types. Eating the land's going to take us down to 2. Guess we'll just have to see what opponent's up to. I mean, I can whip, go get Golos or Plaguecrafter. I have 3 cards in hand and it feels like I'm already out of gas. Okay, Massacre Girl is actually amazing here. Am I supposed to hold off with the Deathrite for the whip? Probably. I have a board state that can win the game right now. And I have to keep this Grim Flayer back. They can sack the Selfless Spirit in response to the Massacre Girl trigger. Opponent has clearly left Coco up. I have the 1/1, the 2/2. They have a 3. That's probably a 4. But if I have 2 things die on my side, then I can clear their board. So hopefully they Coco at instep. And then I untap with a land. I eat this Fabled Passage, Massacre Girl, and have Massacre Girl on an empty board. Selfless Spirit won't protect it because it's indestructible. Okay, well, maybe not Coco, but I'm assuming Spell Queller. Come on, land. Llanowar Elves. That's a little unique. I'd assume you'd at least want Gilded Goose. And yeah, they left up the Spell Queller. And we're there! We do have to deal with the Spell Queller soon, but... Activating Leap, I want the Forest. Let's go ahead and exile you. We would like black. Alright, let's see what you got, opponent. You left Spell Queller up, but this costs 5. Then, yep, that doesn't save anything. It does stop the minuses from getting significantly larger, though. Alright, there's all the things. Now next turn I get a whip, and then we get Satyr Wayfinder, Plague Crafter more than likely. We are going to be taking at least 2 here from the Spell Queller. If they have Lords, it's 3. If they have 2 Lords, it's 4, and then I'm dead in 2 turns. Whip should gain me 4 life, though, if opponent doesn't find an answer for Massacre Girl. I don't believe Spirits runs Deck and Stone. I could be wrong about that, though. Well, if you have another Spell Queller, this is when you use it. Alright, then I'm dead to Lord. Massacre Girl can't block anything opponent's going to put out, so... Yep, I think we're just a little too late. Needed a Hornet Queen in the yard. If we could whip, hit for 4, and survive for that one more turn, we probably had a small shot of getting back in. This is likely finding a Lord. Yep, they found 2 Lords. Okay, let's do another one. Let's see. This will hit white, I believe. Yep. Noxious Grasp comes in. It can rebuy our Spell Quellers and things that get exiled, and it can also answer to Fairy to some extent. Scavenging Ooze, we have creatures on both sides. It's some life gain, and they're a tempo deck. Kalitas, just again, life gain, and it also is probably going to get us zombies as we're answering their creatures. Cuts. I'm really surprised we haven't killed anybody with this yet. Going to wrap up at some point. I think we need more of these since it's our best way to win. By Golos, I still think you're probably just a mistake for this list. I don't like paying 2 life, and this likely isn't attacking very quickly. It's not going to successfully get in through a Spell Queller or Supreme Phantom. Maybe the life loss there is probably worth it. I still like Choops here. Plague Crafter, they're going to sack their Worst Spirit, which unfortunately is likely going to be a Moorland Haunt token. Evolutionary Leap is kind of fine, although it's slow. I'm going to trim one of these just because if we have things under Spell Queller and we don't have our cards already, they're not going to be answering anything on board. So we'd just be sacking our own creature to draw a different one, and that doesn't feel like we're winning. And then Zani, I really wanted you to do okay here, but without flying tokens, you're probably just not good enough. We need to slim down. Whoops, opponent's going to have Rest in Peace. We get Rest in Peace and my Assassin's Trophy. People will laugh. Okay, this is fine. We're already playing around the fact that they don't have Assassin's Trophy, so I guess going all out on these Stitcher suppliers are fine. We also got our one of Evolutionary Leap, and the Giant I said we never drew. Alright, opponent, your go. Want to see what you got. Well, we hit the other Giant. A couple of Plague Crafters. So Whip's pretty good at this point. We need a land and a Whip. Go on in there. Opponent won't trade. Their guy's flying and does a lot of really shenanigan things. Ours fills our graveyard, so makes sense. Then I guess I need to take my shock here. Evolutionary Leap. I am expecting a rip, despite the fact that we have to try to play around it, so I'm keeping the Stitcher Supplier back, at least for the moment. Yeah, they printed some really good Spirits in Eldraine. Or, sorry, Innistrad. Like, this guy is just ridiculous. He's so good, especially compared to Judge's Familiar. Alright. Woodland Cemetery. Well, this is an additional green for Leap, so let's go get our beats on. We'll run out the other Stitcher Supplier. Actually, if I sack this and get a 2-drop like a Satyr Wayfinder, I actually probably want to cast it here. Or if I get a Ravenous Chupacabra, I want to cast it next turn. So, first things first, let's crack. Show me something good. This, well, that's a Massacre Girl, but now opponent knows about it, so it's less good. Then with Massacre Girl, I probably need to keep this in play. I could sack it. I don't really think that benefits me at all. And then if they have a way to grow the Mausoleum Wanderer, I don't clear the board. I want control over at least my first -1/-1. All right. Well, they had it. If we pay for whip at this point, they can just sack this and fizzle it. So Chupacabra off the top is actually probably fine just to try to remove that. Reclaim our graveyard. We have a Hornet Queen, Lotless Giant. Yikes, we got a lot of good stuff in there. And there's our Wayfinder. Find me a land. Fabled Passage, Grimflayer Scoos. Finding it a little hard to believe we're going to be able to win this one. It's a 2-1. May as well. Alright. Well, depending on how hard they commit to the board, they only have 2 mana at the moment, so they can't Coco to get back into it. They could potentially save something like a Rattle Chains to actually have a flash threat. But they know about Massacre Girl, so I imagine they're going to just try to keep this out until I commit into her. And then this guy doesn't actually benefit much. I want this to refuel my yard, assuming we find a whip, but Wayfinder already did his job. Okay. One damage is worth chipping in for. Since streaming and trying to talk through my lines, I've actually noticed I haven't been casting stuff as often in second main, and it's been biting me. You want to wait until the last moment for you to do something. And yeah, I can get blown out pretty hard there. Alright, there goes the graveyard. We'll shrink everything else, mill for 3, finding a Grimflayer and a Deathrite. Not the best, but opponent being stuck on 2 and having Massacre Girl and Noxious Grasp. If they end up running out of White Spirit, I can -2/-2 everything to start. Currently 1 land away from Lotless Giant, although I have no cards in the yard. A little surprised that Izzet got Exile or Graveyard, and Black's stuck with Graveyard. I guess from a flavor point that makes sense. Well, they did have the Rattle Chains. There's the Lord. Oh boy. So currently dead in the air. I can go down to 2 damage next turn with this Noxious Grasp, but that means that I died a Spell Queller. Yeah, that doesn't seem very good. What's the verbiage on this? Whenever a creature dies this turn. So you could actually sacrifice the Massacre Girl to give everything -1/-1. That's actually really good to know about. In fact, I might be doing that here. Yep, Massacre Girl 2. Then I'm a little curious to see if... Oh, whoops. Yeah, I guess that didn't work. I did shrink this Massacre Girl. Oh, no, it does. I just have to actually sack my only creature. That legend roll was kind of bad for me. She does not have a specific name. That was an oversight on my part. Well, there's some life gain. I currently have 5 creature cards in the yard, which means this Lotless Giant is actually super close to just killing our opponent. White creature, white creature. Yes, I get a Kalatos and Noxious Grasp it. We're kind of in this. And that's a whip. Okay, no other Urborgs, don't need to float mana. There's Kalitas. Kill you, gain a life. Get a Zombo. And I can actually sack the Zombo to the Evolutionary Leap to find more creatures, but I think at the moment, just hitting with these and then Lotleth Giant for the kill is what I want to go for. Ooh, that makes things a little more difficult. Yep, I wanted to make contact with the opponent there, but I don't think that's going to happen. So I can whip and whip in Massacre Girl. It will give everything -4/-4 and kill my Kalitas, so that's not great. I can whip in Grimflayer. I don't think that accomplishes much either. Lotless Giant pings for 5. Let's start with this. Okay. That's slightly interesting, but I'm not going to complain. We're going to steal one! Lotleth Giant's going to ping for a number of creatures in the yard, which is 5, and that's Xaxes. Alright. I honestly think that was just dumb luck. Being completely candid, that was pretty much just dumb luck. Why are you legendary? Is that like a arena fighting pit specific tag? Like, you don't seem legendary. I guess I should have known by the border here, but yeah, that was weird. I think the takeaway so far, though, was the Enchantress game was really sweet. And Whip is not a good enough value plan to invest in. As much as I want it to be, it just isn't. Okay, so this is Grimflayer on 2. And then Kalitas and hopefully draw into some removal so I can actually clear their board. Swamp? Not a swamp. All tap lands. I'm just going for it now. There it is. And my apologies on that. I'll mute Slack. This looks like a Rattle Chains. Ooh, boy. That's a lot of Grimflayers. So next turn, Stitcher Supplier, hopefully hit Delirium, Grimflayer 2. Yep, and all their creatures having flash is super bad for me. When it's all creature-based removal at sorcery speed, they're just going to put in anything they need to. They did not leave mana up for Spell Queller, so I'm assuming that's another Rattle Chains. Leading on Stitcher Supplier to see if I'm going to get Delirium. Hit Plague Crafter, Stitcher Supplier, and Satyr Wayfinder. So we have 2 card types. Alright, well, I don't want to telegraph that I have another Grimflayer. But I will be running it out. I'll let opponent trade their Rattle Chains or just flash in their Lord. We're either going to bounce or we're going to trade, and that's kind of okay. If they end up flashing in another Rattle Chains, I'll still trample over and be able to Surveil just for the short version of it. Interesting. They're letting me hit? Their hand must not be very good. Or it's all 4 drops. Okay, I think I want the land. I don't think I care about anything else. So put you in the yard, put you in the yard. Okay, we'll keep you on top. Then Grimflayer 2. We'll draw the land. We'll be able to Chupacabra. Probably just Selfless Spirit at that point. At least make them pop it. Seriously, only 2 card types? Need to get some instants or something in here. There's the Urborg. Kalitas gets Spell Quellered. Ravenous Choops gets Spell Quellered. I should have attacked. No, that doesn't make any sense. They have flying. I'm going to go for post-combat. I suspect that they're going to flash in and block the Grimflayer profitably. There's the Coco. Deputy of Detention. That's disgusting, but that's a good Choop's target. And they hit a Lord, too. Yikes. Actually, I think I want the lifelink. I can lifelink, kill something, get a zombie next turn. Yeah, as long as they can't Spell Queller this, he's coming out. He's probably one of the better cards here just because he gains us some life back. Opponent's currently attacking for 7 if they have another Lord 9. Or 10. Being at 14, I need something with lifelink on the table. That Selfless Spirit even makes it so I can't remove the thing of my choice. Yeesh. Alright. Ooh, that's actually a pretty good one. So I'll gain a little bit of life. I'll still gain the life if they pop the Selfless Spirit. I'll still get the zombie for Noxious Grasping. I have creatures in the yard so I can gain life. Opponent has a Coco so I can drain. Grimflayer probably doesn't benefit me all that much. So I Choops, they'll sack this, I'll be looking at 4 damage. I Grimflayer, Noxious Grasp this, looking at 4 damage. But then I'm attacking back for a lot, and then I get Choops and bring back all my Grimflayers, attack for lethal. Am I dead in 3 turns? I'm probably dead in 3 turns. So, Deathrite Shaman, kill this, take 4, untap, start gaining life. Yeah, I think Deathrite Shaman is just the better coverage here. And this is all assuming they don't have a Spell Queller. I can't beat that, so it's probably not worth thinking about. I do not want them to have the information here, so going to go after the Deputy of Detention. That'll at least get rid of the Selfless Spirit. Oh boy. Interesting, they just let it go. They wanted the 3 in the air. I guess that makes sense because I'm taking 7. Okay, I'm dead. Lord and 2 more damage. We're good here. Alright, well, this did about exactly what I was expecting it to. I mentioned in the deck tech that this didn't seem like it was going to be powerful enough, but it's a sweet deck. I know a lot of people are going to be a fan of playing it, so not going to play the last round. My head's still hurting me, and we're not doing that well. I don't think we're going to take the last game, and honestly, we'd be conceding it because we don't get prizes at that point anyway. But what we learned so far, 4-mana tap-outs don't really mean a whole lot. We also didn't see any Okos or anything that killed artifacts or enchantments that well. I know Hardened Scales is a deck kind of running around, so people are packing answers. Knight of Autumn is just bad enough that I would probably already say, with just Knight of Autumn being in the format, that we don't want to run Whip of Erebos. There were a couple of really bad cards in this, like Golos, Izani. I just wanted to cast it so I could. Not the best call, but there's also not a lot of payoffs for this deck yet. If we get something that's actually worth attacking with, then by all means, I'd be happy to give this a shot again. But at the moment, it's not up to snuff. You might have actually done okay in the first week of Pioneer, but we're really not going to get there. Anyways, guys, thanks for sticking around. My name is thirteene. I do apologize. Tonight was a little bit of an off night for me, but we have a full history of like 8 months worth of content up on YouTube. As I mentioned before, there's a lot of cool stuff up there. Play a lot of janky decks and kind of bad ones. Ton of flavor cards in there. Not necessarily trying to win, just have some fun. Feel free to check it out. But as for now, have a good night, everybody, and I will see you on Wednesday.